Some vanished in fire, others in silence. But each of these medieval cities hides a reason for its death, carved into its stones, buried in its wells, whispered in its ruins. Step inside, and history will tell you a story it never wanted you to hear. A pale fog clings to the bones of the city, winding itself through narrow streets as though it were the city's own breath, slow and weary. Shutters hang loose on rusted hinges, their wood swollen from years of damp, swaying just enough to whisper. Against the wind, the stones beneath the traveler's boots are slick with last night's rain, their worn edges polished by centuries of passing feet that will never pass here again. Somewhere ahead, a bell tolls low, deliberate and measured days, though it marks the hours for a place that no longer keeps time. The air is heavy with the taste of iron and smoke. It settles on the tongue like a warning, the scent of extinguished hearths mingling with something older, something hidden beneath the skin of the city. In the shadow of leaning towers, faded banners cling stubbornly to their poles, their colors drained to the ghostly threads of a memory. Each ripple in the fabric seems to speak of a time when these streets knew shouts of victory and cries of mourning. Market stalls line the main square, their wooden frames sagging, their baskets filled with the remnants of trade-shriveled apples, grain sacks split and gnawed open by the teeth of rats. The small scurry of claws echoes in the silence, the only life bold enough to move freely. From a broken archway, a stray dog watches, its ribs sharp beneath patchy fur, its eyes following the traveler with a mix of hunger and mistrust. The wind shifts, and the faint scent of rot rises from somewhere unseen. Every doorway feels like an unblinking eye. Every alley curls inward like a beckoning finger. The people hear those few who have not left move, like shapes carved from shadow, faces hidden beneath deep hoods. They walk without urgency, their footsteps swallowed by the labyrinth of stone. They do not look at the traveler, yet their presence presses in like the walls themselves. There is an unspoken law, as binding as any written decree. No stranger lingers after sundown. When the final bell tolls, the gates close, and the streets are surrendered to the whispers. These whispers are not carried by the wind, but rise from the stones themselves, low and secretive, as if the city speaks only to those it chooses to. Keep beyond the tangle of rooftops lies the heart of this place, a courtyard, walled by crumbling stone, its doors sealed with age. Once it was the seat of the council, where oaths were sworn with hands upon carved oak tables, where judgment was passed and blood spilled not in anger, but in the cold fulfillment of law. The traveler stands at the threshold, imagining the echo of voices, the thud of a gavel, the scrape of chairs on stone. It is said the walls here remember that in the deepest hours of night they weep without sound. The bell tolls again, closer this time, its chime reverberating through the stones. Beneath the traveler's boots, the sound carries weight, as though it were calling not to the living, but to those who cannot answer. A door creaks open somewhere to the left, then closes again before any shape emerges. The air cools sharply. Shadows lengthen even where no light has shifted. The traveler moves forward, deeper into the city's throat. The streets tighten, twisting like old rope. The walls of the houses leaning inward until the sky is nothing more than a thin ribbon above. A gutter runs along the center of the lane, filled with water darkened by ash, and something that glimmers faintly, coins, perhaps, or bones polished smooth by time. The smell changes, carrying the faint sweetness of decayed fruit mixed with the acrid bite of burning pitch. Around the next corner, a chapel rises, its doors chained and sealed with a knot of wax stamped in a seal the traveler does not recognize. The stained glass above the entrance is broken, jagged pieces scattered like jewels across the ground. Through the shattered frame, the remains of an altar can be seen, draped in a cloth dark with mildew. Footsteps sound from behind, slow, unhurried. When the traveler turns, the street is empty, but the sound continues until it fades into the hum of silence. The last thread of daylight slips from the high windows, and with it comes the creeping sensation of being weighed and measured by unseen eyes at the city's far edge. The wind catches a tattered scrap of parchment nailed to a door. The ink has bled into the fibers, but the words that remain are clear enough to chill the blood. We are bound to what remains. The parchment flaps once, twice, then tears free and is carried into the dark. The final bell rings. Its voice is slow and deep, lingering in the air like smoke. In its wake, the streets seem to shift, as though the city itself exhales. Somewhere far above, in the broken spire of the old council hall, a single raven lifts from its perch and circles the square, its wings cutting the air in silence. The traveler pauses, knowing that whatever lies ahead is not meant for those who arrive uninvited. Yet something pulls them forward, a need to see the truth buried in these walls, to understand why the city still breathes when its heart should have stopped long ago. As the traveler steps into the shadow of the next street, the sound of distant voices rises once more, low and indistinct, as though spoken through water. They are not welcoming, they are not warning, they are simply waiting, and somewhere beyond the gate, another story is already beginning. The rope swings gently above the square, groaning with each motion as if it remembers the weight it once bore. No wind drives it tonely, the restless shifting of the night air, thick with the damp scent of moss and smoke. Beneath it, weeds split, the cobblestones, their thin roots finding purchase in soil that has tasted both blood and rain. The square is empty, but it feels watched, the way a room holds the heat of a body long gone. A brazier still smolders near the center, though no hand tends it. The embers glow faintly, like the last thoughts of a man too tired to rise again. A thin thread of smoke clings to the earth rather than rising, sliding low along the stones, curling around the corners of houses that lean toward each other like whispering gossips. Their thatched roofs sag, sodden from seasons of neglect, their timbers bowed by the weight of silence. In the mud, a child's toy rests on its side, a small wooden horse, one wheel broken, its string frayed and limp. It has lain there long enough for the rain to soften its edges and for the sun to bleach its paint to the memory of color. No one will come to retrieve it. No one remembers whose hands carved it once. This square was a heart that beat without rest. Merchants would have called out their wares, here their voices cutting through the rumble of wagon wheels and the bright ring of coins. The scent of roasting meat and fresh bread would have tangled in the air with the perfume of imported spices. Boots would have splashed through puddles, children weaving between skirts and barrels. But now, the only footsteps belong to the one they call the Watcher Never Seen, always near. The scrape of a boot on stone might be wind, might be memory, might be something else entirely. The city bears its decay openly. Iron hinges on the gate flake under the patient bite of rust. The whitewash on the chapel has been devoured by mildew. Climbing the walls in black-green blooms, even the well water, drawn in deep buckets, carries the faint bitterness of ash, as though the earth beneath has been scorched from within. In villages beyond these crumbling walls, they speak of this place as one speaks of an illness best not named. Children are told not to wander near its roads. Travelers are warned to skirt its shadow. They say no army came to starve it. No plague blackened its doors. Whatever hollowed the city did so quietly, the way rot travels in grain unseen, until the sack bursts in your hands. Some whisper of a pact broken, others of a curse spoken under a new moon, but the truth is more elusive. It hides in the stillness between breaths, in the absence of song, in the way the air tastes faintly of fear. Those who have entered speak of a heaviness in the chest, as though the streets themselves are narrowing, folding in. The lanterns here dim earlier than they should. Tonight, one by one, their flames gutter and fail, not with the force of wind, but as if some unseen hand pinches each wick into darkness. The city seems to contract with the vanishing light, its alleys drawing closer, its corners bending away from the eye. Somewhere in this narrowing silence, the rope creaks again. The brazier's last ember shudders, winks out, and in that instant, the city feels awake not with life, but with the slow turning of something ancient and patient, waiting for another soul to wander in, waiting to see if they, too, will forget. The way out, the road leading deeper, runs beneath an arch choked with ivy. Beyond it lies a quarter that no map marks anymore, where the oldest houses crouch low and the stones are warm, though no sun has touched them for days. It is said that here the city keeps its last memory locked in a place where even the watcher does not tread, and so the question hangs in the air like the rope above the square. When you cross that threshold, do you step forward into history, or into the mouth of something still living? From here, the path descends toward the heart of the city, where the streets grow so narrow that only one can pass at a time, and the shadows lean long enough to swallow a man whole. The sound of dripping water grows louder with every step, but in its rhythm hides another beat slower, heavier, older than rain. The traveler moves on, and the city closes its eyes. At first light, the world feels made of breath and shadow. The mist clings to the outer walls, wrapping the jagged towers in a pale shroud, softening their menace without erasing it. Beneath the arch of the main gate, shards of glazed tile crunch. Underfoot, their painted colors dulled by time, but not entirely lost. The stones here still bear the faint, sticky marks of wine and grease, remnants of feasts no one remembers. The wooden portcullis looms half lowered above the passageway, its rust-bitten iron teeth suspended in the air like a snarl frozen mid-bite, waiting for an order that will never come. The silence beyond it is not an absence, but a presence thick, watching, almost breathing. The main street climbs slowly from the gate, curving between houses with swollen bowing walls, their oak beams silvered by decades of unbroken rain. Some doors are locked from within, crossbars braced as if holding back something unseen. Windows are shuttered so tightly no light can escape. Yet, now and then, from the cracks in a weathered lintel comes the unmistakable scent of warm bread, rich and yeasted. Impossible in a place where the baker's oven has been cold for generations. The air tastes faintly of salt, sharp and lingering on the tongue. Though the sea lies days away, it feels as though the wind has carried it from a far-off shore, heavy with warnings meant for ears long dead. Somewhere deeper within the winding streets, a thread of water sings a narrow, secret sound, and the traveler follows it through. The maze, it leads to a fountain in a small, uneven square, where a stone angel leans forward in an eternal act of watching. One wing is broken at the base, the fracture softened by moss that spreads across her cheek like the stain of a tear. The basin beneath her is full, though no aqueduct feeds it now. Coins lie scattered across its floor, their faces bright under the ripples, some of them newly minted in kingdoms that did not exist when the city was last spoken of in full voice. There is beauty here, but it is an unnatural kind beauty, held too tightly, like a flower pressed between the pages of a book, long after its scent has died. The streets are clean in places, as though walked daily. Cloth still hangs in some windows, unfaded, unfrayed, defying the years. The city is not rotting, it is waiting, and that waiting carries the weight of a vow. Long ago, so the villagers say, these walls bore witness to an oath so deep it bound not only those who swore it, but the stones themselves. A promise forged in fear and devotion, carved into the marrow of the place. None can say who made it first, whether it was a king to his people, a priest to his God, or a mother to her child, but they all agree on the shape of its ending. The city was closed upon itself, its gates sealed, not to keep an enemy out, but to keep the vow from escaping. Some claim it was a pact with the heavens, sworn in the smoke of incense before a reliquary no outsider has ever seen. Others whisper that it was a bargain with something far older and darker, something that required silence, stillness, and the ending of all ordinary life. The truth is lost in the weave of these streets, in the way they fold around one another, like hands clasped in prayer, in concealment. As the traveler stands beside the fountain, the air seems to shift. The coins below tremble in the water, though no wind stirs and no hand touches the surface. Above, a shadow glides over the rooftops, a raven, black as a drop of ink spilled across the pale sky. It circles once, twice, then drifts away, its wing beats slow, deliberate. The sound is soft but carries the weight of a herald, as though announcing that another pair of eyes has come to witness the city's patient vigil. Somewhere, a door closes. It is not the slam of a gust or the careless swing of broken hinges, it is a choice, a hand pushing wood against wood, sealing a threshold. The traveler cannot see who made it. The sound feels final, and as the last curls of morning mist dissolve into the warmth of the rising sun, the streets seem to pull inward, like lungs holding their breath. Whatever was vowed here still holds, unbroken. Whatever watches still waits, and the path deeper into the city narrows, guiding the traveler toward the place where the oath was first spoken, and where its shadow still lies over every stone. The final light of the day bleeds away across the sky, pooling gold in the teeth of broken battlements before it drains into the bruised blue of night. The wind is still, yet the torches along the outer path hold their flames as if cupped in invisible palms. The air itself feels held, waiting. The road into the heart of the city is choked with the stillness of abandonment. Wooden carts lie where they stopped, their axles locked in the hardened mud, as if the ground had risen to claim them. Crates gape open to the night, their contents long since reduced to brittle husks. Once rich herbs, now papery and pale, crumble under the weight of time. The smell of their decay rises faintly, mingled with the sharp tints of smoke and the heavy scent of wool that clings to the air like an unwashed garment above the guild hall. The faded remnant of a pennant shifts slightly, its colors reduced to a ghost's breath of pigment. It sways not with the wind, but as if stirred by the passing memory of those who once stood beneath it, swearing oaths and weighing coin on the scales of the market. The walls here seem to listen. The square is almost perfectly still. The ring of stones encircling the old platform remains unbroken, guarding the place where voices once rose in judgment, where lives were undone with a single sentence. The wood of the platform has aged into the color of ash, and a thin crust of dust rests upon it, as though it has been laid there with intention, sealing whatever was spoken here long ago. Then comes the music. Barely there at first, just the brush of a memory on the edge of hearing, notes plucked from a lute, impossibly faint, impossibly pure, and yet warped by the emptiness of years. The strings of such an instrument should be long rotted, but the sound drifts down narrow lanes, brushing past closed shutters and sinking into the shadows. It is a music that does not invite but warns, as if the city itself remembers and mourns its own silence. Every window is a watcher. Every shuttered frame is an eye following the path of the traveler. The lanes tighten as they wind deeper inward, the stones slick with unseen dampness. Somewhere ahead, a door opens, not with a creak, but with the soft release of something long closed against the world. No figure emerges. Beneath the chapel, the air changes. The cold earth speaks in its own tongue, damp, metallic, eternal. The crypt doors, once sealed, gape open just enough to admit a shadow. Rust swallows the hinges, groaning faintly with each breath of the night. The scent rises from within, a scent of untouched graves, mingling with the waxy sweetness of candle smoke drifting down from above. Inside the chapel, a single candle fights against the dark. It burns low, the melted wax spilling into the carved folds of the saint's robes like fresh wounds. Shadows bend toward it, stretching long and low across the flagstones, as though the figures in the stained glass wish to step down and join the living once more. Along the outer wall, the last torch falters. The flame spits, then leans to one side before shrinking to an ember. As it dies, the darkness folds inward, soft and heavy, carrying the weight of centuries with it. In the thickening night, the city leans closer, not in welcome, but in anticipation. It waits to hear the final footfalls, the ones that will echo after the bells begin to toll, the ones that will decide whether the traveler leaves or joins those who watch forever from the windows. And in that hush before the first strike of the hour, the silence feels almost alive, as though the stones themselves draw breath. Somewhere, beyond the walls, a sound stirs low, metallic, deliberate. What comes next is certain to change the path, yet the city holds its tongue, keeping its secrets for just one moment more. The mist comes before the dawn, curling low, swallowing the streets until they are no longer streets at all, but narrow rivers of shadow and stone. It clings to the carved gargoyles crouched on the rooftops, their hunched backs slick with rain, their faces twisted into eternal sneers. Water drips from their open mouths, falling into hollows worn into the cobbles by centuries of footfall. What once carried the rhythm of carts and hooves now holds only the sound of water, slow and unyielding, like the passage of time itself. Somewhere within the labyrinth, a door slams shut. The sound cracks through the silence like a whip, sharp and deliberate. In a city so emptied, such a noise is no accident. Whoever closed it knew they were being heard, and perhaps wanted to be. The echo runs down the narrow lanes, chased by a wind that does not move the mist. The air is cold, damp, with a smell like wet ash, as though fire had been here not long ago, but no smoke rises, no embers glow. Whatever burned did so in secret. The marketplace lies at the city's heart, though its heart no longer beats. The wooden stalls sag under their own rotting beams, the cloth awnings long since stripped away by storms or scavengers. Beneath one table lies a wreath of dried rosemary, its brittle leaves bound with a black ribbon, crushed under the weight of something that fled in haste. Rosemary for remembrance, black for mourning. Even the dead here seem to be remembered. In fragments, a flutter of wings stirs in the eaves above. Pigeons, startled by a sound that comes from far off, the dull thud of a gate being barred. It is the sound of keeping something out or keeping something in. The birds scatter into the mist, their shapes vanishing before their wings can carry them to safety. The alleys here are littered with the remnants of lives, abandoned mid-breath, a pair of boots, one tipped over as if their owner vanished midst, a half-filled jug of ale with frost gathering around its lip, a ledger left open upon a crate, the ink bleeding from a list of unpaid debts. The names are still legible, but each one is crossed through, as though the city itself has declared them lost beyond repayment. It is as though time did not move forward, here it simply stopped, trapping the last day in amber. In the old quarter, the ivy climbs like slow green fire up the walls of the council house. Its windows gape open, jagged teeth of glass catching the last pale light. The doors bear marks carved deep into the wood, symbols whose edges are worn but still sharp enough to catch the fingertip. Local superstition says these are warnings, but not to the living. No, they are messages to the city itself, a reminder of a bargain made long ago and of the breaking of it. The kind of bargain whispered at thresholds, sealed with blood and shadow, never meant to be spoken of again. The bargain's story is never told the same way twice. Some say it was struck to save the city from plague. Others that it was made for victory in war. Some claim it was nothing so noble, that the bargain was for greed, for power, for the kind of wealth that can make men believe they are untouchable. What they all agree upon is this: the bargain was kept until the city grew careless, forgetting the cost it had once agreed to pay. And when that price came due, it could not would not be met. Now the city wears the punishment like a shroud. The mist is part of it, some say the silence too. No birds sing in the morning. No laughter drifts from open windows. Even the dogs, once fierce guardians of the gates, are gone. Some whisper they were the first to leave, sensing what men could not or would not dash, see, and above it all rises the belfry. The bell has not rung in years, yet those who pass close enough to see its blackened frame swear they hear it. Not a full toll, but the half-formed shadow of a sound, felt more in the chest than heard with the ears. It comes at the hour when the mist is thickest, when the moon is nothing more than a smudge of cold light behind clouds. Some claim the bell calls out not to the living, but to the one who waits for the city to keep its broken promise. The mist thickens as the day fades. Each shadow stretches long and thin, like black fingers reaching across the ground. Somewhere in the distance, a single candle burns behind a cracked pane, the flame shivering as though aware it should not be there. The wind is still, the air heavy, but the sense of movement is everywhere, at the corner of the eye, at the edge of the hearing. It is the feeling of being followed without footsteps, watched without eyes. If the city waits for something, it does so patiently. It waits the way stone waits for the sea, certain that what it expects will come, even if it takes centuries. And tonight, as the last of the light drains from the sky, the marks on the council doors seem to deepen, as though freshly carved. The belfry's shadow falls across the square, long enough to touch the marketplace, long enough to reach the crushed rosemary, long enough to brush against the abandoned boots. The mist swallows the streets one by one, and in the stillness, a thought hangs like the cold in the air when the bell tolls again. It will not be for the living. The path begins where the wild has reclaimed its hold, where brambles twist like living wire, their black thorns catching at wool and leather, tearing the skin beneath. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and crushed nettles, and each footfall feels as though it presses into a place that has not welcomed strangers in many years. The sky ahead is a lid of unbroken gray, the light dull and without warmth, as though the sun itself has turned away from this place over the rise. The city appears its towers like black teeth against the sky, its steeples leaning as if straining toward some long-forgotten bell. The skyline is a jagged crown, not of gold but of shadow and stone, each point a monument to a glory long since rotted from within. The wind here does not sing but whispers, carrying with it the faint groan of iron against stone, the breath of gates left open to the wind. The chains that once held them fast lie slack and rusted, their links flaking like old scabs. No guards stand to watch, no herald calls a greeting, only the hollow invitation of a city that has nothing left to lose. The road beyond the threshold is littered with leaves, wind-blown into drifts that break with a dry crunch beneath each step. Somewhere in the labyrinth of streets, water drips in a steady rhythm, each drop echoing as though counting down to something unseen. From the cracks in the stone, the smell of mildew rises, mingled with a sweeter, more cloying note, the scent of fruit left too long in the dark. A drinking horn lies in the gutter, half buried in silt, its carved stories erased by years of rain. The tale it once told washed away. The houses stand close together here, their upper floors leaning until they nearly touch, turning the street into a corridor of shadow where daylight is a stranger. Their windows are shuttered, yet behind them one senses the weight of unseen eyes, patient and unblinking. The air is thick enough to carry the faint groan of old wood, the sigh of walls. Breathing in the cold at the heart of the city lies a square where no laughter has rung in years. A fountain crouches at its center, long, dry, its marble basin furred with moss and stained with the slow creep of green. The carvings along its rim are worn to the bone of their meaning, faces smoothed into anonymity, hands frozen in a gesture that hovers between benediction and curse. Cobwebs laced the basin like a veil, delicate yet unbroken, proof that not even the smallest disturbance has touched it. In seasons, here the wind drops, and the silence grows so complete it feels as if the city itself is holding its breath. The walls seem to lean inward, listening, their stones remembering every step, every word ever spoken within their reach. There is a weight in the air, the kind that settles not on the shoulders but behind the ribs, pressing slow and steady beyond. The square, a narrow passage waits, a channel of stone that leads to a building half swallowed by shadow. Its facade bears the traces of what might once have been devotion, a row of broken statues. Their faces chiseled away, their hands severed. At the wrist, the great doors are bound in chains, so old they are fused in places, their links thick with rust the color of dried blood. No key has turned in that lock for generations, and yet the weight of what lies within still seeps through the cracks, like cold breath is here. They say that the fate of the city was sealed when the hour was darkest, when the air was thick with the smoke of burning grain and the cries of the desperate. An oath was spoken in the blackness behind those chained doors. It was sealed in blood, drawn not from the willing alone, but from those chosen by the city's own cruelty. In the telling, the bargain was struck not for salvation, but for silence, a stillness that would keep the city standing when all else fell to ruin. And so it has stood, but not in life. The streets are empty. Yet each step brings with it the sensation of being watched, followed, weighed. Not the gaze of one, but of many, layered and ancient, their eyes not bound to flesh. In the quiet, there is the sense of breath on the back of the neck, the faint shift of air in places where no wind should move. To leave now would be to carry that gaze away. And perhaps it would never let go. The road ahead narrows once more, and the gray sky seems lower, pressing against the rooftops. Somewhere in the distance, a sound resides, a dull, low note that might be the groan of wood in the wind, or the first toll of a bell long thought dead. The sound grows, faint but steady, as though calling from deep within the stones themselves. And with it comes the knowing, as sure as the pull of tide to shore, that the city's story is not yet done, and that what waits ahead will not be silent forever. Rain drapes the city in a silver veil, each droplet tracing the ancient stones as though reading the lines of an old, half-forgotten story. The moss upon the walls gleams under the dim light, deep green against the black sheen of rain-slicked rock, like veins through the flesh of something still alive. The gatehouse stands hollow, its arch gaping to the world beyond, and yet the air holds a warmth that should not exist in the wet chill of the morning. It is the warmth of a presence just past, of breath still lingering where no figure can be seen. The streets inside do not run straight. They wind and curl like rivers left to their own will, carving the city into a labyrinth of corners where shadows watch without moving. At each turn, relics of a life that ended too suddenly. A wooden bench worn smooth by years of sitting, its surface carved with initials that may be the last proof to souls ever met. A brass lantern swaying gently in the wind, oil still pooled in its base as though waiting for the hand that will never return to light it. A tapestry hangs limp across a doorway, its once rich dyes faded, but its threads still stubbornly holding against the cold dot in a narrow shop. The rain has forced its way in through the warped frame of a window. Scrolls litter the floor, their curled edges dark with water, the ink bleeding into illegible shapes. The smell rises sharp and bitter, a library dying slowly in the damp. Somewhere beyond, in the maze of alleyways, there is another sound beneath the constant whisper of rain. Soft, measured, deliberate, a thud, then another. The sound of movement that keeps to the edge of sight. The plaza is wide, but feels confined, the walls around it leaning as if trying to hear what passes in the open space. At its center stands a statue, the figure of a crowned woman, her stone robes draped in lines that mimic the fall of water. Her hands extend outward, but the fingers are gone, broken long ago. Her face is worn, the details smoothed away until only the vague shape of sorrow remains. Yet at her feet lies a collection of offerings, coins blackened with age, the scattered feathers of a blackbird's wing, and a single ring of gold so bright it looks as if it was forged only moments ago. The air here does not carry the emptiness of abandonment. It carries something heavier, silence that is not the absence of sound, but the holding of breath. The city is not empty, it is listening. Every brick, every carved lintel, every worn step holds the weight of stories it will not tell freely. Those who lived here are unnamed in the records of nearby towns. Their existence is recalled only in half-drunk whispers, the kind that vanish when the fire burns low. They speak of one night when light and shadow fought in the streets, when the air roared with flame and silence in the same breath, and when the city itself decided what to remember and what to let vanish. The rain thickens, blurring the lines between stone and sky, smudging the towers into shapes that could be ruins or could be watchful giants. The traveler stands at the plaza's edge, feeling the gaze of the city pressing in like a hand upon the back. There is no hostility in it, but neither is there welcome. It is patient, ancient, it does not forget. Coffin, a sound breaks the moment the long groan of hinges that have not been moved in years. A door eases open, a voice, rough and low, speaks a name into the rain, a name that is wrong in the mouth of a stranger, a name that has not been spoken in lifetimes and should not be spoken now. The traveler does not answer, yet they know, with the certainty of someone who has stepped too far into a place that guards its own, that the voice was meant for them. Somewhere in the wet shadows, the shape of the city shifts. The streets no longer wind like rivers, they close like a trap. And far beyond the rain, beyond the towers and the silent gates, something waits for them to take the next step.